the real world and survival and what matters to us. It will end condensed urban clusters, the prevalence, the preference, to be on top of each other and to kind of go where everybody else goes. So like the same concerts, the same shows, the fear of missing out. So that will be amazing because hopefully we'll be moving back closer to nature, more and more of us, the ones who can work remotely. And it will also potentially change the demographics of the country if more people who used to live in cities relocate to rural areas or semi-rural areas without all the comforts of suburbia. Actually, understanding the seasons and the way that nature works, and finding comfort in that freedom that nature can give us in times of emergency, like a pandemic. Because out there in nature, people hardly have to change their daily lives. So it may end the worst environmental excesses of the rising billionaire classes, and redirect our interests and our efforts as societies towards sustainability. It will end fear of intimacy, fear of love, fear of commitment, fear of selfless love. That the kind of extreme self-control that we associated with like a more successful and satisfactory dating life, private life, sex life, intimate life, which leads us to a place where so many of us are quarantining alone without a partner, or quarantining with a partner who is really not our life's selfless dream mate, but the partner of convenience because of children or real estate, shared real estate and other shared financial interests. And from there I'll go to the next prophecy, which is it may well end the participation of government in marriage, because I feel that a lot of people will realize that there is one thing that's like spiritual marriage, true marriage, sacred marriage, and then there's another thing that's just the marriage on paper that the government has associated with countless laws that protect one of the two spouses, theoretically, but in fact keep both committed to a semblance of the truth, to compromise for interests that have nothing to do with romance and emotional commitment and love and selfless love, which is true love, but actually with daily financial or social considerations. And at the time when DNA testing can show us both the paternity of the children and can also and when modern medicine can help people have children without needing the partner present, through in vitro sperm bank, whatever. It seems that participation of government in marriage is obsolete. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't get married and exchange vows, quite the opposite, but we should do it with the person we truly feel we would last longest with. And do it in a spiritual way, whatever our spiritual practice may be, whoever, is our greatest truth, consciousness, being, divine, God. I feel that COVID-19 will free creatives like myself from the poisonous money teeth of like global capitalism and international art fairs and commissions and art for big money, which has diluted and corrupted the relationship with the muse, and also the concept of the artist as a rebel, as an avant-garde activist, as a misfit. So I feel that it will lessen the cultural moral influence of corporations and their paid representatives, such as influencers who are not really influencing anything much, or creatives who found financially reward in like advertising, commercials, ways of promoting those who pay them instead of those who they would agree with ethically, morally, intellectually. It will free a lot of us from needing crowd approval for everything we do and for what we look like and how we're perceived at all times, and it may even free us a little bit from the compulsion to get likes, viral likes. Interesting, the word virus here. Viral likes, viral retweets, viral fans, viral attention, which is really sublimation. It's not even real fans and real attention. It's all sublimated. So it doesn't really feed our body, it doesn't really feed our soul. It just feeds our kind of like mental construct of ourselves, which is an illusion that we just made up, like a character. It's not us. So it keeps us feeling just a little bit fraudulent deep down and disconnected from our truth. So, it may free people, COVID-19, the way that it has taken over very quickly, global consciousness, may actually free us from that dependency on others and encourage us to find our satisfaction, our pleasure, our reassurance, our completion within ourselves. And by ourselves, I don't mean the ego, I mean our connection to our greater truth and our actual priorities and the things that make us feel complete. COVID-19 may very well bring daycare, children care, back to mothers and fathers, real primary caretakers, and strengthen the bonds of motherhood, and help society at large understand that the education and the teaching that the parent, mother, and then as the child gets a little older, both parents, give and provide, is invaluable and much more important than the institutionalized version, and should be rewarded. I feel that one of the biggest problems with our society today is that mothers are not being paid to mother, and so it's considered a labor without value, without financial reward that's supposed to be done for free, and women, for any sort of social respect, a sense of identity in the world, as well as daily survival, paying the bills, supporting the children, have to either depend on a man who gets that money, through like the traditional masculine means, and therefore adjust their truth, compromise, lie, in order to make sure that they have that support, and often put the relationship with a man above the relationship with the children, even though it really shouldn't be. The children should be her focus, because they're innocent and because they represent the future. So I feel that if the government paid women to be mothers and raise the young, they would be able to be much more honest about how they do that, how much time they spend with their children, to teach them, educate them, make them enlightened, evolved human beings, and how much time they spend with their true loves. Then hopefully it will end the primacy of capital as the metrics for the economy, because right now we see that the stock market is doing pretty well considering the economy has crashed, and the numbers on the ground are past recession. So it shows that money is the product that's being traded really in the stock market, the world stock market, and that the global economy has made us vulnerable and dependent on each other to this extent, where a simple mutated virus in Central Asia, Central China, can spread within weeks to every corner of the world and change all of our lives. So if those are the costs of the global economy, what are its perks? Getting iPhones faster, getting cheaper tchotchkes. Do we really need the things that we get as quickly as we get them? And why, if not for the construction of these false identities that we wrap ourselves in, and use them as shield from our truth, as kind of like fake, superficial sources of satisfaction with ourselves, but not profound, true fulfillment and happiness. So I feel that COVID is good in that sense, and it will also help us understand the value of community, of others, of oneness. No man is an island, right? So more affection, less perfectionism, less need for control, less passivity, more inclusion, less judgment, because, for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. So, recognizing our commonality, the common mortality that we all share, would be the beginning of wisdom, right? So, and finally, COVID-19 has slowed down time, which I think is so gorgeous. Slow down, men of the Western world. Slow this whole thing, slow it up, slow it the fuck down. It just needs to open up. Time needs to open up space within it. So space for us to be happy with just being, space with us to be with each other without actually achieving anything, producing, being paid, meeting these like super recent ideas of productivity is a source of like self-realization and and success. So not being able to have a so-called productive work day, and not using our day to kind of like, fix our hair or our wardrobe or our other external marks, I think is a good thing. Finding value in having long conversations, in hugging, in walking, in thinking like as if it were work, thinking like you would be, working out, wowsy, that's something that is an extraordinary pleasure, and we've lost it because it goes inward and it's not dependent on the outside, on what others think of us. So not think about what others think of us, but just think our own thoughts. Think who we are. Listen to the beat of our own heart, of our own pulse. Understand what has brought us here, what choices we made along the way. How many of those choices were actually thought out and made in consciousness, how we acquire more consciousness, which is slowed down time. That's exactly what meditation does. It slows time down. It forces us to take some time out of our productive feed and be in empty space of no thinking, or at least no thinking within the social conditioning, not making stories about ourselves and others. So when I say thinking, I mean that type of thinking, not thinking as, I am me and I am, the hero of my journey, but rather thinking about the world, life, what we have, what we've been handed, how we've handled it, where we want to be, where we want to go, what are our optimal paths ahead, if we were to imagine ourselves as free beings.